All right, what's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to this special episode of Outside the Trenches. BJ Kissel joined by a very special guest and the new executive director of the East-West Shrine Bowl, and Eric Galko, and a longtime friend. I'm a little uncomfortable, and it's not because the Chiefs lost last night. I'm just having trouble getting over that. But we're also sitting on the field. It's a beautiful stadium, but I don't like it here.
Yeah, your division rivals?
Yeah.
Tough to be here. But I will say this is obviously one of the top two stadiums in the NFL, top one stadium for a college all-star game, but certainly one of the better stadiums in the NFL. But I know it doesn't bring back. Well, you guys beat the Raiders here, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. But Chiefs won here, maybe not every week.
When we recorded it, it's just after the morning after the Chiefs lose to the Bengals in the AFC title game. So I know you've been running around with your head cut off, so you haven't had a ton of time to watch all the games. What was your reaction when you saw the fact that Chiefs up 21-3 and they ended up losing to the Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game intermittently, to be honest, but I saw the start of the game, and that's what I expected, right? Matt Mahomes and the Chiefs getting off to an early start. Joe Burrow and the offensive line struggling quite a bit too, but it's a testament, really. I mean, it's nothing the Chiefs did wrong. I think it's testament to Joe Burrow. He's been incredible. I've talked to multiple scouts here all week long just saying how cool Joe is, how much that offense kind of really jives together, how that defense has played really well, especially in the playoffs the second half of the season too. So I think a lot of it is just, as a Chiefs fan, hopefully not too mad. It's just a sad, frustrating thing. But it's a really good Bengals team, a team that feels like it's almost a team of, compared to the New York Giants in 2008, right, when they won the Super Bowl, the Bengals feel like that. Right? Like, why are they here? But they keep winning games, and they keep looking impressive in the second half.
Yeah, I'm not going to be happy that any team's there. It's not the Chiefs, but Bengals fans, Chiefs fans I would say they can kind of feel for them, but it's not like they've had all this success. I mean, they had 4 wins last year, a couple years ago.
And the Bengals are a fascinating case study, too, because they've got a small personnel staff. They hired a young coach who was the quarterback coach for being a head coach for the Rams, right? And he's going against now his former team. And it's also show that, hey, they took Jamar Chase over the lineman. The lineman kind of pieced together this year, and it hasn't been great, but maybe you don't need a great offensive line. So the Bengals being successful this year, the way they've done it, is how much a good quarterback can help. You don't need to have a mobile guy like Joe Burrow's not the most mobile guy. You can win with a small scouting staff. You can win without a great offensive line. So I think we'll look back at this Bengals team and realize, is this a referendum on scouting in the process, or is this just a really lucky team?
Yeah, and I know it's interesting. We're in a really interesting time for everybody who's listening to this, that, there isn't all offseason to prognosticate what the Chiefs could do, what they should do in regards to players. And you have Tyrann Mathieu. You have decisions on Frank Clark and Anthony Hitchens, and the lab guys are going to record. They're going to break down all of this stuff. But with you, you're so tied into just with your institutional knowledge of how the NFL works that I want to talk about this, because we saw Ryan Poles get a job. And I was happy to see Ryan get a job. No, you know Ryan too.
Yeah.
In kind of explaining that not every general manager job across the NFL is the same. It's not cookie cutter, in that the same responsibilities for the Packers is the same for the Cowboys or for the 49ers, whatever it is. They're all different. And now that we're in that time of the year where GMs are getting hired, coaches are interviewing, they're making changes, they're hiring their staff, more job interviews and things are taking place here at the East-West Shrine Bowl with all the NFL people here. But just, how do you see the NFL evolving with some of the decisions that have been made? You have the old guard, the old school kind of, I always relate it to Moneyball, because, you've got the sound of the bat guys, and you have the hear the numbers guys. And we've seen teams lean into the analytics and kind of go guys with that background. And then you've got your former player GMs that have been out on the field playing the game. Just where do you see the game kind of going in this?
Well, I think for one, I saw on social media a lot of the GM the Vikings hired compared to Ryan Poles. And one's an analytics guy and one's a scout guy. And Ryan's not a scout guy only. He's more point player, but he knows analytics. And same thing with the GM the Vikings hired as well too. I think a lot of GMs now, it's a lot less nepotism. It's a lot more, hey, how can you impress an interview, and how you can use all the different tools your teams have. And I think the Chiefs done a great job of having a lot of people who have decision-making, not power, but the Chiefs, Brett Veach has been involved for a long time. When John Dorsey was here, he was involved. Andy Reid has a lot of say. Ryan Poles had a lot of say, right? So it's been a very collaborative front office for a long time. I think a lot of teams want to mimic that. That's, I think, a testament to Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Philadelphia was like that when he was there as well, too. So I think teams are looking for collaborative leaders, but I think this question of analytics, I think a lot of front offices now is becoming less taboo for front offices, and it's still the same for coaches. But I think ownership now is starting to realize you just want to hire smart people and that have a little bit of experience in a lot of things and are really good at one thing. And Ryan is a really good scout. Yeah. And I think he has really good instincts on, how to build a successful team. He's very similar in philosophy to Joe Douglas in that way, where it's like it's going to be a trenches O-line, D-line. It's going to be, find the right situation, find the right coaching staff for that individual player. I know if Ryan was maybe in Minnesota or he was someplace else, maybe his head coach would be different, right? I think he was willing to adjust to that too. So I think a lot of GM candidates now, I know Ryan's been preparing for this GM job for a while, but him in particular, I think they're really being more thoughtful, right? It's a lot less, who do I know? It's a lot more, hey, what does this team have? How can we build it successfully? How can we leverage the draft or free agency, but also make smaller changes in the front office and the coaching staff that really impact things bigly. But I think no matter what, the Chiefs have become a model in a lot of ways for how to successfully collaborate as an organization.
I think you have to. And I think we've never talked about this, I don't think, but you have to. And just because I've never seen any different up close. Like I know the Chiefs and the way that they operate. I see other NFL teams that the GM and the head coach were both hired independently of each other to try to make it work. And those are the teams where things start getting leaked about like, hey, they're not happy about this or happy about that because those guys are trying to save face because they weren't hired as a pair. And when it comes to Ryan, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, and I know you will, but somewhat evaluating players and being good at that is such a huge part of the job. It's like calling plays for a coach or a coordinator. Like you got to be able to do that. But when you're the head guy, whether head coach or head GM, it's about taking care of your scouts, about how you communicate the processes you have in place and being consistent and fair with your people. And it feels like most of the time when guys aren't successful, yes, they miss on draft. Everybody misses on draft picks. But if you don't know the processes that are in place and how to set up a successful organization, it's not going to work. And that's why I feel like guys who play for Andy Reid or work with Andy Reid or are part of this system, they understand the process, how to put everything in place, all the behind the scenes stuff that most fans don't ever see that kind of creates those problems within the division when it starts to not work.
One of the benefits of Ryan, and just I think in general, having a scout background, one of the advantages of that is, I've been director of player personnel at the XFL, here at the Shrine Bowl now too. So I'm not at the GM level at all. I'm not saying that, but you realize that the more you get into like a leadership position, the less time you have to watch film, right? So that teaches you two things. One, you've got to be really efficient, really good at watching film quickly and making decisions and be able to say, hey, you know what's actionable? How can I watch this offensive lineman? Maybe not watch 5 games every snap for 5 hours. How can I leverage my staff, my team, my analytics to quickly decide, hey, I've got all this good objective information. Now I can make a decision, because every GM in the league is going to talk to agents. Meet with the training staff every day, meet with your coach, meet with your position coaches, right? So there's so much to meet with ownership, meet with the stadium ops, make sure there's no problems there, right? There's so much you have to do that I think, and I don't want to be too positive for the Chiefs the whole time here, but one thing the Chiefs did, and it's something we've always talked about, is who gets credit for Pat Mahomes. And it feels like you can ask somebody, if you ask Ryan Poles, he might say Brett Veach was the one, right? If you ask John Dorsey, he'll say Andy Reid, right? They all are working together, but they all add a hand in it. I think that's the great part about the Pat Mahomes story, is that he was a underappreciated guy, except for the Chiefs. And me and you and a couple other people, thought Pat was a really good player. But I think that kind of mindset of like, hey, it's all together. I'm sure, at the time, Brett and Ryan were scouting Pat, and John was making decisions, talking to agents and personnel people. So I think that's a really important part of what Ryan inherits, what the new Vikings GM inherits, what Joe Schoen inherits in New York, is trying to build a collaborative process, because there's just, with analytics being so involved, that there's just too much information. It's overwhelming for a lot of people.
And we've talked about it before, that Brett Veach gets all the credit and all the blame when a pick goes well or doesn't go well. It's not his guy. And I always used to ask, the first year, I was at the Chiefs and we'd interview the area scouts after they made a pick. And I think it was Pat Sperduto, one of the Chiefs area scouts, long time, old guard area scout. And I asked him, I was like, hey, we got your guy. And he just kind of like, we hadn't been recording yet. And he's like, just because he's in my territory doesn't mean, he's like, I like him as a player. Don't get me wrong, but I don't like how area scouts get tabbed as, we took a guy from your area, that was your guy. Like your name is on him. He's like, we spend so much time dissecting these guys throughout the months leading up to it, and I've preached this for so long, and you know this. By the time you get to the draft, there's not a lot of decisions being made in the moment. Most of it is just executing a plan that you spent all of this time putting together.
I think for Chiefs, it's been the case. For some teams,
it's
not as the Chiefs
Please tell us the stories how teams are not organized in that way.
Either. But no, I think it's important to kind of you're right. And that's where I think that whether it's GM level or the area scout level, like you have to have all this stuff organized. And it's really hard to do that. Like I know it sounds easy. Oh, you've got all this time, but there's always new information coming. And that's where I mentioned analytics a little bit, is that you'd be stupid not to use analytics, but I get why it's sometimes overwhelming. There's too much, because you have the background and character, you have your own personal bias in that person off the field, you have the film in college and all-star games, and the combine data analytics. So it's important for who people in decision-making processes to know that how to analyze all that data, but it's really hard. And I think it's what Ryan's going to be a strength to do that. I think Minnesota's GM, New York Giants GM is going to be really impressed with that as well too. But it's a hard process for a lot of GMs right now. That's why Brett and John Dorsey performed did a great job.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a hard turn here real quick and get back to the Shrine Bowl, but I don't feel like we can have this show and not talk about it since it just absolutely went crazy on social media earlier today. Tweeted out something about Tyrann Mathieu, just saying, guy that I'm always going to root for.
Yeah.
For anyone who hadn't heard this part of it before, when I was with the Chiefs, I was just with Tyrann for a short time, but he and I hit it all. Like, we just had some really deep, like, real conversations. And so we always just had that respect. I haven't stayed in touch with him a ton, but I tweeted out, just he's an easy guy to root for. I'm always going to root for him. Goes to another team, whatever it is. There's a business side of football that I understand. Respect the hell out of what he's about. And he responded, we'll always remember you and many more good people. A lot to be proud of over the past 3 years. I'm thankful and grateful. I leave with a grateful heart, having got the chance to play for all of you good people. Thanks. Basically saying goodbye to Chiefs fans.
Yeah.
And my phone went crazy after that. So I have no idea everybody's guessing. I have no idea what it means more than you guys. But I will say that most of the time, players know their future months before it actually gets, this, much months before it's actually reported and legal with the league year and all those things.
Yeah.
But if his time is up, I don't think Chiefs fans should have any ill will or anything. Not that they do, but Tyrann changed the culture as much as Patrick Mahomes did of the success that they had in leading them to that Super Bowl. And no one's going to convince me any different because I saw it. So I'm always going to respect the hell out of that guy and root for him wherever he goes. And hope it's in Kansas City. If it's not, sounds like it's not great. But that guy deserves all of our respect. It should be beloved in Chiefs Kingdom forever.
I'll ask you a question. I mean, he's a unique player on the field, unique person off the field as well, too. And he's someone that the Chiefs didn't draft, right? They got him later in his career as well, too. I mean, that to be coming to a team that late and be that kind of leader and lead your team to a Super Bowl, I mean, what kind of impact does he have? Like, how does he make the rest of that team better on defense? Because he obviously has. When he got there, it changed not just what they could do schematically, but what they were on the field.
And to be an alpha among alphas, this because you're around these guys. Every guy on that field, every guy in that locker room has been the best player, one of the best players on every team he's ever been on.
Yeah.
And so for a 5'9", 175-pound guy to step up and make these grown men, these arrogant, cocky, like confident guys. Let's be honest, like
well paid.
Like they all
self-confident. Yeah,
those guys stop and listen when he talks.
Yeah,
and that is rare. It's not just because he got paid. It's not just because he's good. You be good and guys won't listen to you. It takes a special thing to get guys to stop and pay attention. And I love that you brought up that point. For people who live in the Kansas City community, you saw how quickly he just bought right in. He wasn't drafted by them. Yes, they gave him a substantial financial investment that he's going to appreciate. But he didn't have to do all the things that he did. His wife opened up a store. She's selling stuff. They've done so much stuff with the community. There's all kinds of pictures, even after tough losses, people going up to him when he's at his kids' youth sports games, taking pictures with fans and being gracious with it. And he's exactly what you'd want in that position. And again, they have to make business decisions, and that is never tough. If he's not back, that doesn't mean they didn't want him. There's just certain things don't work out sometimes, and it's not anybody's fault.
If he's not back, it's cheesy to say, but I don't know how you replace for all of what he's brought. I don't know who steps in there and what you can't find a player who's a 5'9", do-it-all safety, linebacker, corner, nickel guy, but I think more than that, it's just going to be really hard to do. So
that's why they get paid the big bucks, and that's why they make those decisions. He's still the best player in the world, but the defensive side of the ball could look completely different.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking Frank
maybe
Clark,
has to.
Anthony Hitchens, Tyrann Mathieu, Steve Spagnuolo. Who knows where that is? And I'm not prognosticating anything either way, but who knows? But let's pivot back to the Shrine. I just wanted to touch that so Chiefs fans were listening. But let's get back to the Shrine Bowl. And as somebody that spent 10 years, and I owe a lot of my career to what going down to Mobile, the Senior Bowl did. But having a chance to be here and seeing the access that you've set up, and I know you and I have talked about that, and just being in Vegas, like, this is unbelievable experience for anybody. Hopefully all the content, all that stuff comes across, but this is going to be a really special event. You've done a phenomenal job.
Oh, thanks, PJ.
What has the last few days been like for you at this event? For anyone watching, 100 and how many players?
130 players.
130 players getting ready for the NFL draft. Their scouts. Saw Trey Koziel and Ryan Nutt. Saw some of the Chiefs guys here the other day when they first got here. But what's the first few days been like for you, and how excited are you about this?
It's been great. I mean, I took over in April, and standard I want to create was best in class, right? For not being competitive with our all-star game, just saying, hey, if I'm going to run this event, I want it to be a best in class event, and there's a lot that goes into that, right? And I think my first focus was players. I think all-star games sometimes there's a lot going on, and players sometimes get kind of swept under the rug. So we made sure that players had the best massage therapist. Christy Swakowski works with Pat Mahomes, a lot of Chiefs players. She's here all week long for our whole team to give all of our players massage therapy. That's been a huge ad for players as well. Done by 8 o'clock at night. Every night we have a guest speaker. We had Darren Waller the first night, who I know Chiefs fans may not love very much, but he's a great guy and a great speaker for our players.
And for the record, real quick, in case people are listening, but like, hey, why do they need massage? But keep in mind the context. These guys are getting ready for the biggest draft interview of their lives, and their bodies need to be like as absolute perfect as they can. And you guys providing things like that, it's not an add-on like luxury thing.
No,
it's
needed.
Do everything you can to make these guys have the resources to perform their best at the biggest interview of their lives.
Physically and mentally. We have mental performance coaches here, and Darren Waller speak as well too. But I think that goes to the sense of being in the right field, being in the right city, right? Not being in a smaller city or being at a baseball city where the Shrine Bowl used to be, being at Allegiant Stadium, which again, pretty cool spot. And I think making sure we have great time, great access for NFL teams, right? I looked at all their all-star games and said, hey, how long do they have time to talk to players? And it's usually been 8, 9, 10. We made it 20, right? So trying to make sure we change the schedule and change this a lot for players as well too, because I think players deserve a lot, right? They don't have to be here. Yeah. There's a chance they're here to interview with NFL teams and selfishly for the Shrine Bowl to promote the Shriners Hospital for Children, but they're here for a job interview they should be taken care of. So we focus there, and then NFL teams will too. So far, I'm proud of how it's turned out. I think feedback's been good. We'll see if they're want to come back next year. I think they will, but hopefully we'll have the best players in the country this year, and moving forward, I want to make sure players, NFL people, media like yourself, leave here and say that was a worthwhile experience. I know Vegas at night, that's going to take care of itself. I'm not worried about that, but in terms of the actual Shrine Bowl, I think it's been a good success so far.
Yeah, from a media standpoint, it's access, how quickly we get to the players, how easy is everything. And again, we're standing on the sidelines watching, listening to the coaches. Like, you can reach out and grab some. I know Trevor Sikkema got a little close yesterday, but I know this is putting you on the spot because you have 130 players and all the agents that you signed. But
they're all my favorites. As
I was gonna say, like, who stood out? Who have you gotten the most questions about? That's here. That it's really early for Chiefs fans, and we understand that, but the NFL doesn't stop, and this stuff happens, and what is happening right now will affect and make a difference on draft day for the Chiefs, so it is relevant that way.
Yeah, I mean, one guy that's been, I'll admit, is a guy that I had no idea what to expect, and he's a tight end out of Ohio, and if you look at tight ends at Ohio, you're not going to find his name. Armani Rogers played quarterback at Ohio and UNLV before that. He's here playing tight end. He's only caught 3 passes in his college career. All were like running back to the quarterback situations. But he is a absolute freak tester. He'll be in the 95th percentile or above. You guys like mock draftable, like he'll break that system for sure. But the way he's up at tight end this week, and we've got 6. I think all of our tight ends have a great chance, not guaranteed, to be drafted. Yeah. And he's one of them. And I was excited to see him here and see how he played and see if he can hang around. And I don't want to. Again, they're all my favorite players, but he can argue he's the best tight end here. How he's played this week too.
And the Chiefs don't draft tight ends who played tight end in college. They draft college basketball players or quarterbacks.
Yeah,
and they convert them. So
he's been really special too. We've got a great cornerback room, DB room. That was expected. NFL teams were super excited about those guys as well too. And the quarterbacks have played well. Brock Purdy, Jack Cohen. I know they're not the high necessarily pedigree coming into first round picks, but
you're not talking about the one guy that we got to talk about.
And I know I was kind of saving him for later too. But a lot of these guys, I think teams, all of our quarterbacks teams felt that they can play quarterback on our team, be it backup spots or whatever else. I think all those guys are impressed in interviews, especially too. But really, Armani jumps out because I've been watching him. That's the way NFL teams are. Is how is he going to play? Why is he playing tight end? Why is he here? And I think it was going to be a good call by us. But he's really impressed the NFL team so far.
All right, now it's time to ask about Kansas State quarterback Skylar Thompson. Guy that, like I said, I know him, but like very familiar. Watched a lot of him in college, and all of the intangible thing. And this is because he's from Kansas City, and most of us know Skylar's story. But all the leadership, the intangibles, the mental acuity to play the position, the things that he's been credited, his teammates love him. It seems like a guy who's going to get an opportunity. He's going to impress if he could stick and do the physical things. The medicals all check out because he's been banged up. But what have you heard? What have you seen from Skylar?
Yeah, I mean, off the field medicals and interview-wise, like A+. I mean, he's been absolutely phenomenal in interviews. I think NFL teams have been dying to talk to him. I know one team spoke with him for about 15 minutes in their kind of group interviews, and they want to talk to him again, right? So teams are just like, when they get a little bit of Skylar, they want to talk to him a lot more. But I think on the field, especially today, we're here at day 3 practice here for the West team. Definitely his best day of practice. Had a lot of great red zone throws. He's really built a relationship with these guys. That's usually what happens. All-star games, right? By day 2, day 3, they start to get working together. But I think for Skylar, I got a chance to watch him in his meeting rooms with the Indianapolis Colts staff. So the West team is what he's on. Their head coach is Marcus Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. He's been very impressed with the coaching staff. He's working with Gerard Johnson, former Shrine Bowl player, former NFL quarterback, one of my good friends in the industry, and someone I think is incredibly impressive as a coach. And seeing Gerard and Skylar talk and work together, and Skylar learn from him too, has been, as far as learning how to play the quarterback position, Skylar's done it for a long time, but hearing from NFL coaches, it's been a great relationship there to see those guys talk together and work together. So Skylar's had a fantastic week. I think he was already coming in has a good chance to be a draft pick. I think showing NFL teams here, hey, again, at the very least, he can hang around the NFL and maybe much, much more.
Yeah. And again, when it comes to backup quarterback, all these guys want to show that they could step in and win a game if they needed to.
Yeah.
But so much of playing that position, and I every time I talk about this, I just picture Chase Daniel just rolling around in money. And Chase Daniel has had a career because he has been invaluable as a sounding board to the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, also
that's the value for him.
Whether it's that kind of guy, next guy do that too. How about Gardner Minshew? Right, Gardner Minshew's a good, not special athlete, a guy who's been productive in college, but had some injury stuff in his college career, and he starts games. He'll start in the league next year then too. I mean, Case Keenum started games. Almost went to the Super Bowl one year too. So Skylar's not a limited talent. He's an A+ talent player in terms of most players in the country. It's a solid quarterback class at the top this year, but I have no doubt I can absolutely see Skylar Thompson playing and starting on Sundays in the NFL. We saw with the Indianapolis Colts alone, right? They were having Sam Ellinger out there, right? Maybe some comparisons there as well too. So I'm not saying Skylar's going to be a Colt, but I think the Colts been impressed. I think a lot of NFL teams this week have been very, very impressed with Skylar.
All right, 2 more questions, just specific to what you've seen this week. Which players which players came in have helped themselves the most? And granted, we're just about halfway through. Yeah. But what players have really impressed that have taken advantage of the opportunity they've been given here at the East West Shrine Bowl?
2 guys, and I'm not sure how much Chiefs fans need these guys, but one running back, Keonta Ingram, USC's been an outstanding pass catcher. He played receiver in high school, and then at USC didn't play too much of that this past year. Didn't play too much, out in space, but he's been uncoverable in a lot of ways. He's been really impressive too. Defensive side of the ball, Noah Ellis of Idaho State. He's a 350-pound mammoth, and he's been absolutely just steamrolling offensive linemen all week long in one-on-ones. And then I would say, maybe one of the leaders to be the top player drafted here, who's always played this week, and really who he is off the field, is Matthew Butler of Tennessee. He's a 3-tech, 5-tech, would be a great fit for the Chiefs scheme. But I think mentally and how he handles the game and talks about the game, been really impressive for interviews, but he has been winning as a 3-tech, as a 5-tech, as a 1-tech. He's been winning as a spin move, a speed rush. I mean, I think he's been comfortably the most impressive defensive lineman here. I think he's really made himself a lot of money here at the Shrine Bowl. All right. Hopefully not spent it all in Vegas either, by the way. Hope he's been safe there. So.
We walked the strip last night, and I
didn't see any players.
Peace of mind, I didn't see any players or anybody out there running around.
I'm just kidding. These guys got a chance to get here Thursday, and none of these guys gambled. They all know it's a business trip. They get a chance to explore Vegas and go to the Bellagio fountains, go to the sign too. But Vegas has been a fun venue for these guys to kind of enjoy when they have some downtime. All
right, and final question. We appreciate your time talking with Eric Galko, the executive director of the East West Shrine Bowl, here on the field at Allegiant Stadium, home of the East West Shrine Bowl and the Pro Bowl. We won't say the other team that works here, but Thursday night game. Who Chiefs fans? They want that itch of football. They need to get the last game that they watched out of their mind. They sit down and watch the game. Who are you most excited to see perform in the game on Thursday night?
I think it's the quarterbacks, and because, again, it takes some time to kind of build that up, but I think Brock Purdy, Skylar Thompson, Jack Cohen. Jack Cohen's best game might have been his last game in college, right? Skylar Thompson, Brock Purdy have been really productive in the Big 12 their whole career. De'Aaron King's going to play quarterback and receiver. So I know quarterback is the cheesy answer, but I think these guys, sometimes it's hard to you want to impress the receiver, have the receivers impress in one-on-ones. But I think game time, all these guys are gamers. Yeah. And E.J. Perry of Brown's a guy who has a huge chip on his shoulder playing in a small school. So, Chiefs fans, I'm not sure what their backup quarterback long-term may look like, but I would guess one of these guys would be a great fit. But quarterback's the most excited to watch on game day because I think those guys, maybe more than other all-star games or even past Shrine Bowls, is that these guys are all the same kind of mindset and player, and they want to really impress that last game.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you're doing here. And I know in speaking with the media, what you guys have here at the East West Shrine Bowl is something special that we're going to be coming to you single year.
There we go.
And so it's going to be a lot of fun. But thank you, Chiefs Kingdom, for listening to this episode. I know it's a tough time right now. Hopefully you took some stuff away from this conversation. The lab guys will be back later tonight to break down everything and start talking about the offseason and some of the decisions and some of the things that are going to have to happen this offseason. Who are the free agents? What is the roster composition, the coaching staff, all of those things you'll get with Craig, Matt, and Kent later tonight on the KC Laboratory. But we appreciate you for supporting us here at KC Sports Network as we get into the offseason. We've got a lot of really cool interviews, sit-downs, things that we are doing here thanks to Eric's access at the East West Shrine Bowl, and we'll have that content throughout the offseason for you guys. But again, we appreciate it. Please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, catch it with the lab and then the rest of our shows later this week. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time.